This is the Mariners POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Seattle Mariners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Chris, read me those stats that you were about to say right before we went live. I made you stop.
Yeah.
So we could go live and you could say it to the masses.
So Dylan Moore is 1 for 16 in July with 7 strikeouts. And in June, he was 1 for 30 with 18 strikeouts. So that's 2 for 46 with 25 strikeouts since the start of June.
That's what are we like? That's 10, 8, 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
That's Dan Wilson postseason numbers and not a compliment. Go if you guys haven't seen Dan Wilson's postseason numbers, go check them out. They're some of the most funny, terrible stats you will truly ever see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you that are wondering why we're starting off on this note, I just thought it was perfect that we ended that game with a Dylan Moore strikeout for the second time. This is your Mariners POSTCAST. I'm Anderson Hurst. That's Christopher Crawford right to my left. We go live right after every single Mariner baseball game. By no means are we saying Dylan Moore is the reason we lost this game today, but it is just funny to watch at how bad things can get sometimes. And the first thing I think of when I come away from this game, and I'll get your thoughts in a second here, Chris Crawford, we're going to talk about Brandon Woodruff. He was awesome today. One bad inning from George Kirby. I'm going to ask you how much of it was him, how much of it was everyone behind him. And then we'll do our unsung hero and unsung villain. But the first thought I have today, and I know we're locked on Mariners here. This is the Mariners POSTCAST, and we're not the Brewers POSTCAST. But, man, that is just a team that doesn't make mistakes, like ever. They don't have any superstars on that team. They have just a bunch of just good players that do their job. They pitch well. They have a good bullpen. They have good at bats up and down the lineup. They do the little things right. And that's how you go on an 11-game winning streak, by the way.
Yeah.
So that is just an example of what a really good baseball team looks like. Chris Crawford, what are your thoughts from the game 1 loss?
Same. And it's too bad because for those of you who are old enough to remember the Jeff Fassero, it was just one bad inning thing. Like Jeff Fassero was a guy who went 4-14 with a 7.5 ERA for the Mariners in his last year. Before that was a pretty darn good pitcher, but he would always say, it's just one bad pitch or just one bad inning. And everyone would get so frustrated. It actually applies tonight, right? Okay. Outside of one inning, I thought the Seattle Mariners played okay, particularly pitching-wise. Now, we'll talk about Brandon Garcia's debut. We'll talk about this offense, and we'll talk about Brandon Woodruff. I mean, this is part of the story too, right? But boy, oh boy, the Brewers are good. The Brewers are a good baseball team. They're kind of fun to watch too if you're one of those people who just likes to see the ball put in play because there's not boppers. I mean, Jackson Churio has some incredible raw power, and Christian Yelich does as well. Rhys Hoskins, congrats on the homer, dude. That's a reference to a different thing, but on the injured list now. But when he's healthy, he's a guy who can take the ball out of the ballpark. But they very much rely on contact. They are very much a team that relies on playing really good defense, really good pitching, and keeping the mistakes to a low roar. Yeah. And they did that today. And then some. It's too bad because, and we can just start with the start. George Kirby was fantastic for 5 innings tonight. Fantastic. And then the 6th inning. And it's too bad because you take a look at the line of 6 innings, 4-run baseball, and that's pretty mediocre. I don't think that's indicative of what George Kirby gave you tonight, right? Yeah. The results are the results. But I thought the swing and miss stuff was good. I thought the command was excellent. There were some balls hit tonight that I thought should have been caught in that inning as well. J.P. Crawford, just, that's a diving play, but it's a diving play because it's J.P. Crawford, right? That's just one of those things. And I'm not saying Julio should have caught the double. We've seen Julio Rodriguez. He could have. And that's more compliment to Julio than insult to him. Let's just be abundantly clear.
But you still expect him to make that play.
it's a play that I wouldn't have been shocked if he made. It wasn't a play that I'd say, boy, you have to catch this ball. It's like, I have such high expectations for Julio, and I bet he'd tell you too that he'd say,
he would tell you that. Yes,
I probably should have caught that ball. If I make a dive there, maybe I get to it. I understand why you don't dive there. And at the time, it was good that he didn't, because it put runners at second and third. Nobody scores on the play. But looking at it, I could have seen that ball being caught. That's not an excuse for George Kirby. The command clearly got worse in the sixth inning. Clearly. But it's too bad, because for 5 innings tonight, no hits, and just had the Brewers completely off balance. Completely. But this is what good baseball teams do. They have a couple of bats against George, and they say, all right, let's get to work. And by the way, I think it's worth pointing out, the Brewers' 11-game winning streak, 6 of those are against the Dodgers, right? Like 6 of those are, and the Dodgers are struggling right now. But are they? Or are they just having to play the Milwaukee Brewers a whole bunch? I was really impressed with them. And I will just say my overall takeaway, even on a day where you give up 4 runs, was I was much more impressed with George Kirby than disappointed.
Yeah, I kind of put George Kirby and Logan Gilbert in a similar place, at least this season, with their inability to just show their 100th percentile selves that we have come to know and love. And not that I need them to be perfect every time they take the mound, but I've seen them be much more dominant, much more consistently in years past. And I know it's one bad inning, but it feels like we say that every time with these guys, right? And you're not saying that as much with Brian Wu. Now, I know we just went through a loss when that was the case yesterday against the
entirely defensive related outside of the 2 homers that he gives up later, right?
Right. So that's why I'm kind of taking that out of it a little bit. But I feel like we say that a lot with George and Logan Gilbert, even if that is the case again tonight. I don't know if that's just coincidence or if it's just, they can't figure it out. Like a lot of people are pointing out, third time through the order, every pitcher struggles the third time through the order. It's just the way it goes. It's like if you don't, you're like one of the top 5 pitchers in the game. And I think the Mariners thought they had a couple of those for a long time. Maybe that's just not the case.
Yeah. I just think, and it's worth pointing out that Kirby's no longer it's early in his season, right? Like I think he's deep enough now that we can say he's got to be better through 6 innings. He's got to be better. Like, again, the overall takeaway for me with that start was more impressed than not, but the results are the results. It's also worth pointing out that George Kirby could have given up 1 run tonight and lost because the offense just stunk the bed. It just stunk the bed. And it's an example of the ceiling and floor, man. We keep talking about it, and you see the floor of this offense. We do have to give credit to Brandon Woodruff, though. And I talked about this on my OI that when I was previewing it, that Brandon Woodruff is a fun story because it's a guy who missed essentially 2 years of baseball, very similar to Lance McCullers, except for a little bit better in his return than McCullers has been. A guy who had a 47% strikeout rate in his first 2 starts. That guy can pitch. And if you take a look at where some of those pitches were located, you'll say, they missed a lot of hittable pitches. It's very similar. Brandon Woodruff is very similar to Brian Wu, a guy who throws the ball a lot down the middle because he knows that with his spin, that you are not going to be able to make hard contact. You are going to pop the baseball up. He lives on that high strike, but he can also miss bats down low as well. A whole kitchen sink guy. And all the compliments to Woodruff, you still can't get shut out. There's no pitcher in baseball that I can say, you know what? Unless you're facing 1997 Randy Johnson or 1999 Pedro Martinez, there's it's just okay to get shut out, right? That's just not the way these things can go. So yes, Brandon Woodruff deserves plaudits for the job that he did, but the Seattle Mariners also deserve considerable criticism for having a very poor offensive day.
Yep, very bad. Only 5 hits on the day, 2 errors to the defense once again for the second straight day, just not living up to it. I'm going to ask you how much you're concerned by that, and if so, where. Then we'll talk about the offense. But first, I want to give some love to our sponsors today. Let me just double check and make sure I have the right ones here. While I'm looking for that, since I was ill prepared
No,
with myself today. We do it sometimes. I've had a
dude,
long
you
day,
have had a long day. Anders
Yes.
is hosting
Yes.
a show after being on 2 shows today on
My third one.
KJR, and
Yes.
that is
I do have the right ones, by the way.
you do.
So.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so we're good to go there. So thank you for covering me for that 5 seconds while I double check that. But let's give some love to FanDuel. Sound good?
Okay. Sounds great.
And now I realize I don't have it up.
You want me to just do it? I can just do it. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting.
You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburn at the beach. What I love about FanDuel is it gives me different sports every single time to bet on. So even if I'm a baseball guy, I obviously watch every single Mariners game. I'm involved in that. If I want to throw in some money on some other place, and even if I'm not following that super closely, FanDuel will give me the opportunity to do that. You can always do that with FanDuel, and it's a great app to use. Super easy. It gives you as many prop bets, live bets, all the stuff you can look for, over unders, futures, however you want to go with FanDuel. They just have so many options. Highly recommend using.
And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online, just like I'm reliable with ad reads.
Amen. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast.
If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it is your turn.
Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
All right, we're back on the rails here after that kerfuffle by myself in the first ad read, and I appreciate you picking me up because you're the man.
I thought I was just going to do the whole thing, and then I thought, well, maybe we won't. But you know what?
It took a second to load.
Air from us is a perfect segue into the Seattle Mariner defense today, because I will tell you why I'm not concerned by it, because of who made the airs, right? So the air by Cole Young. By the way, I'll give you my unsung hero just right now. Cal Raleigh threw the heck out of the baseball today, and it was wonderful to see, because I think sometimes Cal Raleigh's throws can be a little inconsistent in terms of accuracy. He's been really good lately, and he was really good today. In fact, he made a perfect throw to Cole Young today, and unfortunately, Cole Young just drops it. And I think it's because he got a little too excited for the tag, right?
Yeah, he did.
He got a little too excited, but it's still a mistake. And fortunately, it didn't lead to a run, but it's a boo-boo, and Cole Young has to be better in that regard. There's no question about that. Yeah. And then the other error is from Brandon Garcia. So let's just talk about Brandon Garcia.
Okay, let's do it.
First of all, I would love to make him my unsung hero, just because anytime you make your MLB debut, I think you deserve it. I will note that wasn't great. I will note that wasn't terribly impressive. And you saw the stuff, right? Mid to high 90s fastball. That cutter is going to give hitters fits. A little bit of deception to the delivery. I think he's going to be a guy who can help them.
Yeah.
He's certainly not a guy you can trust in high leverage right now, right?
Right.
And I think one of the things that was important to note was the fact that he didn't go back out there for that 9th inning, even in a game they were up 6, which tells me they don't plan on sending him down, right? They
Yep.
they do probably want him to pitch again in this series, or if not, and MLB debuts are so hard. And I thought Ryan Rowland-Smith did a really good job breaking that down too, talking about like it's even harder for pitchers because the whole world is focusing on you, and you know that, right?
Yes.
Like when you're playing first at bat's got to be very, very difficult too, because the whole world's focusing on you, but you've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on, and you probably have had a chance to integrate yourself into the game, right? Like you have that chance to probably make a defensive play. Usually MLB debuts, you're hitting 8th or 9th, so a bunch of things have happened, right?
Yeah.
You are just sitting there chilling, like by yourself. It's got to be really difficult. Brandon Garcia's got a chance to help this bullpen, and I'm glad they called him up. I think he is a guy who can help them, but nothing he showed today suggests he's ready for prime time, that he's ready to be a high leverage helper.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It's so important to get that second lefty, and I don't know if them hoping this works indicates that maybe they're not targeting one in the trade market. I don't know if you can connect those two dots. That's just something I pointed out in my head. I'm like,
sure.
You know, if they're really trying to make this work, and this is a guy they drafted in 2023, so it's pretty recent. They're trying to shove him up. I know he's a little older of a draftee.
Right.
So like it makes sense for the fast track, just considering his development path. But yeah, I think it's going to be however it turns out, if you get, one in trade or this is your guy for besides Gabe Spire in terms of a left-handed reliever, it's going to be very important that you get some sort of confidence in that second guy. Because we even saw with Gabe Spire, like he's not going to be lights out every time he comes out there. He's not a nails back end reliever. He should be one of your guys that leads into the Munoz and Brashes, right? And if he's not available, sometimes he won't be. You're going to need another guy to get left-handed batters out.
100%. And the nice thing about having a guy like Brandon Garcia is because he has a starter background.
Yes.
If he shows that he can be that guy who can get lefties out with a modicum of success, he's also that potential guy that you say, we can use this guy occasionally as a mop-up guy. We could occasionally have this guy be there. But I do think this is an audition, and it's an audition in a couple of ways. It's an audition in terms of, are you the second left-hander for this bullpen?
Right.
And also, if he pitches really well, are you auditioning for a potential trade? Are you auditioning? Because teams have interest in Brandon Garcia. I will tell you that right now. The guy's stuff is disgusting. And he was a guy who got mentioned in some trade talks in the offseason as well. So there will be some interest. It's a good time now to give him that chance. And let's just be honest. If he fails, it's not a bad thing to have Brandon Garcia in your organization, right? Like he doesn't have to help you this year in order for him to have a successful career, right? And he doesn't have to be moved either. Lots of guys struggle in their first taste of MLB action. I just thought he was overthrowing today. And it's not something that is uncommon whatsoever in MLB debuts. Relievers often overthrow in their first taste, and hopefully he looks better going forward.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. And I agree with what you said about not putting him back up for the ninth. They could have easily done that if they were going to send the guy down. We saw that with Burgos yesterday,
right?
And obviously that's what ended up happening. He gets sent down. So him not going back out there for the ninth. Hey, we're not just going to eat up your innings here. So we're then sending you back down to Tacoma. So we save some guys. No, we're playing the long game with this guy here.
No doubt.
Really quick with the offense. We won't go super long with this. It's a pretty basic game.
Yeah.
You lose 4-0 or 6-0, whatever it is. I don't even know. How much of the lack of offense was because of Brandon Woodruff was so good, and how much of it was the bad approach at the plate, just not a good enough hitters? How much of it is on us versus Brandon Woodruff is what I'm trying to say.
I would probably, if you made me pick, I would probably go, boy, I almost said 54%. And you know what? Congratulations to the Seattle Mariners for losing tonight, because
they're not 54%.
They are not at 54%. They're 53-47, so they're at 53%, baby. I would probably go more credit to Woodruff than insult to the Seattle Mariners. I was just really impressed by what Woodruff did today. And I've been impressed with what Woodruff has done all year. Again, that doesn't mean it was good today, right? Like Julio had one ball that should have been a hit. Joey Ortiz is just a ridiculous defensive player, but the other bats weren't good. JP Crawford really struggled today. Randy Arozarena struggled. The only guy who gets 2 hits tonight is Ben Williamson, and they weren't exactly shellacked. Nice game for him, though. 2 hits and a stolen base.
I'm surprised I don't hear an unsung hero coming along.
You know what? I already gave it to I already gave it to Cal, so I can't do it. I'm sorry. But the offense wasn't good tonight. It wasn't good. I think I've made this comparison before. There is a scene in Parks and Rec where Ben Wyatt and April are in a parking lot, like waiting for a presidential cavalcade or whatever they call that to get through.
Motorcade, yeah.
Yeah, motorcade, yeah. And April says, "Ugh, why aren't we moving?" And Ben goes, "Because other cars." Like, the other team is trying, right? You do have to give credit to the other team that is trying. There are reasons sometimes why the offense struggles, but at the same time, maybe don't leave at a time when there can be a presidential motorcade going on too, right? Like maybe think about some of that stuff as well, because maybe this is a terrible analogy, but it's always one that's applied.
No, I like it.
Like, that the other team is trying, but that doesn't mean that you're a failure, and you should never get shut out. You should never, ever, ever get shut out. So I'll go 54.9% Woodruff, 46.1% Seattle Mariners.
You're a legend. You are a legend. Even if that equates to 101%, that's okay.
Oh, thanks.
I think, long story short, the Mariners just got beat tonight. You faced a better team that was very hot against a really good pitcher. It didn't end up working out. You can still, salvage the series game tomorrow. It's
good luck. Because you are facing Jacob Mizorowski tomorrow. And look, I thought about this when they faced Tariq Skubal. I thought about this when they faced Garrett Crochet. I thought about this when they faced Max Fried. Sometimes it has worked out. But Jacob Mizorowski's stuff is like a whole nother level. And first time seeing him too, and we've seen the Mariners really struggle the first time seeing guys.
Yeah.
First time seeing guys, and that's, I don't know what that deal is. It's something that's been an issue in the past, but like, man, Jacob Mizorowski's stuff is filthy. So I believe it is Logan Gilbert tomorrow on the mound for Seattle.
Yes, it is Logan Gilbert.
Logan Gilbert's going to have to pitch like he pitched against Detroit, but get a little deeper, right? He's going to have to get a little deeper, have that 0 earned runs is going to be good for you. Hot take there. But Jacob Mizorowski special. And if just real quick, if you live in Seattle, go to the game. Go check that out. Go get a chance to see a really special pitcher. You got to see Paul Skeens. Go see Jacob Mizorowski as well.
Yep. I like this comment right here. It's the first and only one I'm going to put on the show today. But if you think Woodruff is good, just wait till tomorrow.
You're not
Cooper.
lying, dude.
It's very true.
You're not
very,
lying.
very true. I want to do a quick shout out. My wife's godmother and her family are watching, so I'm going to say this in Spanish. Quiero gritarle a la madrina de mi esposa y su familia que están viendo por primera vez. Hola, Gaby. So thank you so much for watching for the first time. Really appreciate you guys. Anyone else hanging out with us? We always love hanging out with you guys right after every single Mariners game. Even on just a gross loss like today, we get 120 people coming in and shooting something I almost said that I don't need to. But we like doing it with you guys. Let's have a better outcome tomorrow, and I'm excited to watch this matchup. I think Logan can kind of prove his worth a little bit more after, there's the concerns, everything, and not major concerns, just I want to see the real Logan Gilbert, right?
I want to see 7 innings. We haven't seen 7 innings since the first start from Logan Gilbert. I want the same results we're getting from Logan Gilbert, but I want them deeper.
I couldn't agree more. Any last words before we get out of here?
No, because I just made it really bad.
Yeah, you say that one more time.
That's what she said. There we go.